Speak to the Universe. Full audiobook. Introduction. The Forbidden Door Within. There is a door in your mind you were never meant to open. And yet, here you are, standing before it. It hums behind your thoughts like a star you cannot see, but somehow remember, a pulse that has followed you through every dream, every lifetime. They told you the kingdom was above, but what if it was beneath the surface of your own awareness? What if every prayer you whispered was only an echo, waiting for you to realize you were the one who answered it? The veil is thin tonight, and the moment you understand these words, you will never again be who you were before. Close your eyes. Breathe. Not to escape this world, but to feel how close heaven has always been. It is not far. It was never far. It was hidden beneath the noise, beneath the names and faces you have worn. Beneath memory itself, there is a light, a sacred ember, and it has been waiting for you to remember. The ancient texts spoke of it. The mystics called it the secret place, the temple not built by human hands. In the stillness of that temple, creation begins. Every image, every sound, every emotion that dances within you is born there before it ever reaches the physical world. That temple is your subconscious mind, and the world you call real is nothing more than its reflection. When the ancients said, "As within, so without," they were not speaking poetry. They were describing the architecture of existence itself. You have never been separate from the divine. You have only been dreaming that you are. The moment you awaken to this truth, the laws that govern your life bend toward your awareness. The unseen becomes visible. The impossible becomes memory. And what you once prayed for begins to seek you. You are not learning something new. You are remembering something eternal. You are tracing your way back through the labyrinth of belief, through the corridors of identity, through the illusions that told you you were powerless. Each step you take into this remembrance dissolves a shadow. Each truth you hear in these words cracks open another layer of forgetting. Imagine this: your mind as a vast cathedral of mirrors, each one reflecting a version of you. Some are luminous, full of joy, love, and purpose. Others are fractured, repeating stories of fear and lack. The outer world only reflects which mirror you stand before. Change the mirror, and the reflection transforms. Change the image within, and the world outside must obey. This is the hidden covenant of reality. Your subconscious mind is the womb of creation. Whatever you impress upon it in feeling, in faith, not thought, becomes flesh. Every outcome, every encounter, every coincidence is born from that inner vibration. To change your life, you do not fight the reflection, you change the image that casts it. There is a current of power beneath your awareness, like a silent river of light. Every night as you sleep, you drift into it, shaping worlds through dreams you do not remember. Every desire that lingers in your heart is a seed floating upon that current, seeking soil in the unseen. But here lies the mystery. Most people live as though that river flows outside them. They beg it to deliver what they already carry. They pray to a sky that lives behind their eyes. The mystics knew better. They knew the universe is self-aware. They knew that to speak "I am" is to awaken the name of God within human breath. To declare "I am healed" is not a request. It is a decree that reshapes matter. To say "I am abundant" is not hope. It is remembrance. And yet, for this knowledge to live in you, it must be felt, not recited. The subconscious does not understand words. It responds only to vibration, to the music beneath your speech, to the emotion that hums in your chest when you say, I am. This is why the scriptures said, when you pray, believe that you have received it. Because to believe is to feel. To feel is to command. And to command is to create. Now, as you listen, something begins to stir, not in your thoughts, but in the silence beneath them. That is the awakening. That is remembrance. You may feel it as warmth behind your heart, or a pulse of knowing, or simply an exhale that feels like release. That is your subconscious answering you, whispering, I remember. You were never meant to live as a beggar before your own creation. You were meant to reign, not over others, but over illusion, not through control, but through awareness. The world bends to the one who knows the dream is theirs. And when you awaken, you no longer chase. You magnetize. You no longer seek. You see. There is a power in you that predates time. It was there before the first sunrise, and it will remain after the last. It wears your face in every lifetime, waiting for you to turn inward and remember that the Creator was never separate from the creation. Tonight, you will remember, not with your mind, but with your being. You will walk through the hidden corridors of your subconscious, unlocking the symbols that have shaped your destiny. You will see the ancient mechanisms of creation, thought, emotion, faith, working together like divine machinery beneath the surface of your awareness. And when the last veil falls, you will understand. There was never a lock, only forgetting. And what you call awakening is simply remembering the power that was always yours. So listen closely, not to me, to yourself, to the still, eternal witness within you that has watched every lifetime unfold and will watch this one awaken. Follow that voice. It will lead you home. You are standing at the threshold of remembrance. Beyond this point, the world you knew will not remain the same. For once, you see the architect behind the dream you can never unsee. You will never see yourself the same again. Chapter 1. The Mirror of the Infinite. There is a silence that lives behind all creation, a stillness so complete that even time pauses to listen. From that stillness, the infinite gazes upon itself, and in the mirror of its own awareness, worlds appear. Galaxies bloom like thoughts across the mind of God. Suns ignite in the breath between heartbeats. Existence unfolds because the infinite beholds itself. This is the secret the mystics veiled in metaphor, the truth hidden in every scripture and dream. Reality is not something that happens to you. It happens through you. Every event, every face, every coincidence is a reflection of your inner gaze. What you see is what you have declared yourself to be, and the world only echoes your declaration. You are both the mirror and the reflection, the dreamer and the dream. To understand this is to awaken from the great hypnosis of matter. For ages, you have stared into the mirror of life, believing it to be solid, external, unchangeable. You have fought with your own reflection, pleaded with it to smile, cursed it for its shadows. But the mirror does not move until you do. The reflection does not soften until your gaze is softened. The moment you realize this, creation becomes effortless. The struggle ends not because the world changes, but because you remember you are the world's secret cause. Every thought is a brushstroke upon the canvas of the subconscious. Every emotion is pigment. Every belief, no matter how hidden, leaves its print upon the glass of reality. You live within a hall of mirrors, each one shaped by the image you hold of yourself. The world bends not to effort, but to identity. Imagine a painter standing before a blank canvas, brush in hand, trembling with the desire to create. The paint, the light, the motion, all respond to the vision held in the painter's mind. The painter need not command the colors. They flow according to the inner image. You are that painter. The canvas is your reality. Your subconscious mind is the paint that takes form. Every time you say, "I am," you lift the brush. Every time you feel the truth of that statement, the image begins to appear. When you whisper, "I am unworthy," the world responds faithfully. When you breathe, "I am abundance," the universe reshapes itself to match the vibration. It is not magic, it is law. The outer world is a perfect mirror of the inner conviction. The law does not judge the image, it simply reflects. There was once a man who lived by the sea, haunted by the belief that he was cursed. His father had failed in business, his mother died in sorrow, and he grew up convinced that the world had turned its face away from him. Every venture he began dissolved into loss. One night, as he walked along the shore, he shouted at the stars, "Why do you hate me?" But in that moment of despair, the sea was still. And in that stillness, he saw his reflection in the water, a face twisted in anger, eyes filled with fear. And then, as if the sea itself spoke through the wind, he heard, "It is not the world that hates you, but the image you hold of yourself." Something shifted within him. He fell to his knees, weeping, whispering, "Then let me see differently." From that night forward, he no longer fought against his reflection. He began to see himself as favored, guided, luminous. He walked as though he carried light, and the world, as if enchanted, began to mirror that light. Opportunities appeared where doors had been sealed. Strangers offered help. Within a year, he had built the life he once begged for. The curse was never real. The mirror had only been waiting for him to change the face he wore within. This is how all miracles unfold. They are not interruptions of law, but revelations of it. The universe is not testing you, it is responding to you. When you speak, it listens. When you feel, it forms. The only difference between struggle and manifestation is awareness. To the unaware, life seems random, an accident of chance. To the awakened, it is precise, mathematical, sacred. You no longer ask if it works. You realize it always has. You were creating in the dark, unaware that the shadows obeyed your whispers. Now, as you awaken, you see that every event has been a mirror showing you your inner state. If you want to change the reflection, you do not shatter the glass, you change the gaze. This is why the wise do not resist. They revise, they reimagine, they remember, they understand that the outer world is clay in the hands of consciousness. You are the sculptor, shaping infinity into form with every silent thought. Close your eyes now and imagine the mirror before you. See your reflection not as flesh, but as light. Fluid, infinite, shimmering with potential. Speak quietly within yourself. I am the mirror and the source of reflection. Feel how those words vibrate. Feel the stillness expand beneath them. This is not affirmation. This is alignment. You are remembering the eternal law, that consciousness creates, that the unseen governs the seen, that the dreamer commands the dream. Hold that awareness gently, as one holds a flame in darkness. Let the warmth of it travel through you. dissolving doubt, washing away the illusion of separation. When you open your eyes, notice how the air itself feels more alive. Notice how your awareness sharpens, how the edges of reality soften in response. You have entered the mirror of the infinite, where creation begins at the level of being, not doing. From this point forward, every thought becomes sacred, for every thought is seed. Chapter 2. The Law of Becoming. Creation is not an act of reaching, it is an act of being. Every desire you hold is not something you must chase. It is something that seeks expression through you. The seed of it already exists within your consciousness, waiting for permission to bloom. You were taught to ask the heavens for your blessings, to beg the wind for change. But the truth is far simpler and far more dangerous. You are the one who becomes what you seek. The universe does not deliver your desires like a merchant. It mirrors them through the state of being you inhabit. This is the law of becoming. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. You cannot possess a reality whose frequency you do not embody. This is why effort without transformation collapses into exhaustion. The outer world cannot sustain what the inner world rejects. To change your world, you must not fight circumstance. You must become the one for whom that circumstance is natural. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a vast stage before you, an infinite theater of possibilities. Every role you could ever play already exists upon that stage. There is a version of you who walks in radiant health, another who lives in wealth, another who creates beauty and wisdom effortlessly. They are not far. They are simply waiting for you to step into their scene. The script is already written within the quantum fabric of your mind. The only barrier is identity. You cannot act as the wounded and experience the triumph of the healer. You cannot cling to the story of lack and dwell in abundance. You must become it first, within, before life can echo it without. Every emotion, every thought is rehearsal. The subconscious does not distinguish between imagination and memory. It accepts whatever you embody as truth. So when you imagine with feeling, you are not pretending. You are rehearsing the future into form. There was once a woman who longed for love, but believed herself unworthy of it. She prayed nightly, pleading for someone to arrive and complete her emptiness. But the years passed like unturned pages. One evening, weary of her prayers, she whispered to the darkness, "I am tired of asking." Something in her broke, not in despair, but in surrender. She rose, lit a candle, and stood before her mirror. "If love will not come to me," she said, "then I will become it." From that night, she began to treat herself as though she already was what she sought. She spoke gently to her reflection. She walked through her home with tenderness. She smiled at strangers without reason. Within months, the world changed. People began to respond to her warmth as though drawn to an invisible flame. A man entered her life, yes, but he was not her source. He was her reflection. Her love had called him forth. The law of becoming had fulfilled itself, not through striving, but through transformation. You have been told that becoming takes time. It does not. It takes decision. Time only measures how long you resist your own transformation. The instant you feel yourself to be something, creation begins. It may take days for the outer world to rearrange, but the act of becoming occurs in an instant, in the invisible silence where belief shifts. This is why the Masters said, When you pray, believe that you have received it, for the prayer is not the request, the prayer is the assumption. You do not wait for evidence, you are the evidence. To believe before seeing is to understand that consciousness precedes form. You are the sculptor shaping the clay of reality with the heat of conviction. The moment you feel it real, the unseen begins its choreography. People move, circumstances bend, timelines shift, not because you force them, but because you became the vibration that demands their alignment. There is a power in assumption that no external force can deny. When a child plays pretend, they do not doubt the reality of their game. They are the hero, the explorer, the queen. And so the world responds to their joy as though it were fact. The law of becoming is childlike, but not childish. It is the recognition that imagination is the womb of matter. Every empire began as a vision in one man's solitude. Every healing began as a picture in the quiet of one woman's heart. The universe does not care if your assumption seems unrealistic. It is not measuring probability, it is following command. The moment you embody the state of being, the creative substance of reality bends toward you as metal bends toward magnetism. The outer world reorganizes itself around the inner declaration, I am. Say it softly now, not as repetition, but as remembrance. Feel how the words settle in your body, I am. That phrase is the master key. It opens every door because it does not describe, it creates. To live by this law is to walk as the architect of experience. It is to know that you are never waiting on reality. Reality is waiting on you. Every event that appears delayed is only awaiting your embodiment of its cause. When you feel lack, life must reflect lack. When you feel fullness, life must overflow. When you become the healed, healing appears. When you become the prosperous, abundance flows. You need not control the process. You need only remain in state. The law of becoming does not require willpower. It requires faith and identity. You are the actor and the stage, the playwright and the scene. Once you know this, life becomes art. You no longer ask, when will it happen? You declare, it is happening now, and the mirror answers accordingly. This is the great reversal. The moment you stop seeking and start being, the world begins to seek you. Chapter 3. The Language of Feeling. Before the first word was spoken, there was vibration. Before thought, there was pulse. And before creation took form, there was feeling, the silent electricity that bridges the unseen and the seen. The universe is not impressed by words. It listens only to the symphony beneath them. You could whisper 1,000 affirmations and still remain unchanged if the vibration of your feeling sings another tune. But a single moment of true emotion, of belief felt in the body, will move mountains that a lifetime of thought could not. For feeling is the language of the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is the instrument of God. It translates vibration into form, emotion into event, conviction into reality. You do not think your way into creation, you feel your way there. Every pulse of joy, every ache of fear, every secret certainty is a seed dropped into the soil of eternity, destined to bloom according to its nature. Consider how a melody can move you to tears though you do not know the language of its composer. The subconscious works the same way. It does not analyze, it receives. It feels the tone, the weight, the color of your emotion, and says, "So be it." You can say, "I am abundant," but if your chest tightens with doubt, the vibration you send forth is poverty. You can say, "I am healed," but if your heart trembles in fear, the frequency is illness. To create, you must feel the reality of what you declare. You must speak in the only language the infinite understands, the vibration of conviction. The ancients knew this. That's why their prayers were not pleas, but praises. They spoke as though the miracle had already come. They sang, they wept, they danced, because they knew emotion was the creative fire, and to feel it now was to command the unseen to become visible. There was once a farmer who prayed for rain during a long drought. Every day he looked to the empty sky and begged, "Please, let the clouds return." But the earth remained cracked and silent. One day, weary of his despair, he walked to his fields and knelt in the dust. He closed his eyes, and instead of asking, he imagined the scent of wet soil. He felt the mud beneath his feet. He heard the patter of raindrops against his roof. He felt gratitude rising like heat in his chest. And in that instant, he no longer begged. He became the one who had already received. Within days, the clouds gathered. Rain fell across the valley, not as miracle, but as law. For he had spoken in the true tongue of creation. He had felt it real. The feeling was the prayer. The prayer was the seed, and the rain was the inevitable bloom. To master your life, you must become fluent in this language. It is not spoken in sentences, but in sensations. The vibration of joy, of peace, of gratitude. These are not emotions alone, they are frequencies of alignment. When you dwell in them, you synchronize with the realm where all things are already complete. The future you desire does not live in time, it lives in vibration. The version of you who has everything you seek is not waiting. It already exists on a frequency you can tune into now. How? Through feeling. You shift not by force, but by resonance. To feel abundance is to broadcast abundance. To feel health is to inhabit it. This is why imagination is so holy, because it allows you to feel ahead of fact, to embody what the senses cannot yet perceive. When you feel it real, the subconscious cannot distinguish between what is imagined and what is actual. It accepts the vibration as truth, and reality rushes to match it. So, how do you speak to your subconscious in this sacred language? Not with effort, but with surrender. Sit in silence and breathe. Let the body soften, for the subconscious listens through the body, not the mind. Picture the reality you seek as if it were happening now, not distant, but immediate. Let the image stir a feeling within you, even a faint one. Feed that feeling, let it bloom. Don't chase joy, allow it. Don't demand peace, remember it. The more you relax, the louder your vibration becomes. Feel until your breath deepens, until your skin tingles with aliveness. Then release it. Do not clutch the vision. That tightness is disbelief disguised as devotion. Feel it, then let it go, knowing that the vibration has already impressed itself upon the field of the infinite. That is how the masters create, with ease, with grace, with certainty that the unseen has already moved. For to feel it is to make it so. Feeling is the bridge between heaven and earth. It is the river through which the formless becomes form. When you numb yourself to your emotions, you silence the very voice of creation. Most people live as though feeling is a danger to be avoided, not the compass to be followed. But your emotions are sacred instruments, each one revealing the quality of your current vibration. When you feel joy, it is not random, it is resonance. When you feel pain, it is not punishment, it is feedback. Feeling shows you where you are tuned. And once you know where you are, you can change it, you can rise, you can shift, you can feel differently, and in doing so, you can summon a different reflection. This is the alchemy of emotion, to turn sorrow into revelation, fear into faith, longing into love. For what you feel deeply, you become, and what you become, you create. So the next time you wish to change your life, do not force the outer world, tune the inner vibration. Ask yourself not, "What must I do?" but "What must I feel?" For the answer to that question is the key to every locked door. You will know you have aligned when your heart grows quiet and your breath feels infinite, when the prayer dissolves into peace. That is the moment creation is complete. You will not need to chase evidence, for it will find you. It always does. For in this universe, nothing resists the language of feeling. It is the voice of the soul, the whisper of the divine, the current beneath every miracle. Speak it fluently, and creation will follow like shadow follows light. Chapter 4. The Shadow and the Light Within. There is a secret every soul must face before it can awaken fully, a truth too luminous to see without first passing through darkness. The subconscious is not only the garden of creation, but the keeper of your shadows. It holds every forgotten memory, every denied desire, every fragment of yourself you deemed unworthy of love. And yet, these shadows are not your enemies. They are your guardians. They wait at the edge of awareness like sentinels, protecting the gates of your power until you are ready to reclaim it. For the light you seek will not appear in heaven's sky. It will rise from the soil of your own darkness. Every fear you face, every pain you embrace, every wound you bring into awareness becomes light reborn. The alchemy of awakening begins not with perfection, but with permission, the courage to look within without turning away. When you first begin to awaken, the shadows stir. They do not rise to punish you. They rise because your light has called them forth. Imagine standing before a mirror in a dark room. When you light a candle, you see not only your reflection, but the dust upon the glass. That dust was always there. You simply could not see it until light revealed it. This is how the subconscious heals. Illumination does not destroy darkness. It transforms it by seeing it clearly. Every judgment you hold against yourself, every memory that aches, every pattern you repeat is asking for one thing: acknowledgement. The shadow longs to be seen not as a curse, but as an orphaned piece of your divinity. When you welcome it home, when you say, "Even this is me," you collapse the illusion of separation. The wound becomes wisdom, the fear becomes faith, and what once bound you becomes your power to free others. There was a man who carried deep resentment toward his father, a wound buried so long he mistook it for personality. He prayed for success but met failure at every turn, for the energy of his bitterness flowed silently into all he touched. One night, weary of his struggle, he dreamed of walking through a field of mirrors. Each mirror showed him a version of his father, cruel, absent, unyielding, until he stood before one that reflected only himself. He looked closer and saw the same anger in his own eyes. The dream whispered, "You are still fighting to prove your worth to the one who could not see it." When he awoke, he wept. He forgave not because his father deserved it, but because he no longer wished to carry the reflection. From that day, his life shifted. Business prospered. Relationships healed. The shadow, once his tormentor, had become his teacher. This is the law of contrast. What you resist in yourself persists in your world. What you integrate dissolves its power. To meet your shadow is to meet your mirror in truth. The world will always reflect what remains unseen within you, not to shame you, but to wake you. The critical voice you hear in others is often your own self-judgment wearing a mask. The rejection you fear is the echo of your own disbelief in your worth. When you understand this, you no longer react to life, you read it. Every conflict becomes scripture, every pain a prophecy of liberation. You begin to see that even your suffering was sacred, for it sculpted your compassion, deepened your wisdom, expanded your capacity for love. Light is born from contrast. Without shadow, you could never see your own radiance. To awaken, you must embrace both, the night and the dawn, the sorrow and the song. For only in their union can you see yourself as whole. This is why the masters of old did not flee from their deserts or their storms. They walked into them willingly. They understood that illumination is not escape, it is expansion. They descended into the depths of their own being to reclaim what fear had exiled, and when they emerged, they carried power so steady it could calm tempests with a word. You are called to do the same, not by rejecting your humanity, but by sanctifying it. Every emotion, even grief, even rage, is energy in disguise, seeking its true form. The moment you bring awareness to it, you purify it. You do not need to fight the shadow. You need only witness it with love. This is the divine paradox. The moment you stop judging your darkness, it becomes light. So, when the ache arises, when doubt whispers or memory wounds resurface, do not flee. Sit with them, breathe, say softly, "Even this is allowed." For in that moment, you speak the language of God, unconditional acceptance. The subconscious does not heal through resistance, it heals through recognition. Let your awareness wash through you like dawn over still water. Feel the light filling every crevice, even the ones you once feared to see. That light is not coming from above, it is rising from within. The dawn of your remembrance, the shadow bows before it, for it was never against you. It was the veil that made the revelation possible. Chapter 5. The River of Faith. There is a river that runs through every soul, silent, luminous, unbroken. It does not rush or roar. It moves with divine patience, carrying the dreams of creation from the unseen into the seen. This river is called faith, not belief, for belief is fragile, built upon reason. Faith is deeper. Faith is knowing without evidence, seeing without sight, trusting when the world trembles. It is the invisible current that guides every manifestation, every miracle, every act of creation. You cannot see where it begins, and you cannot see where it ends. Yet it moves through you in every breath, every heartbeat, every quiet conviction. When you align with this current, life ceases to feel like struggle. The effort dissolves. The current carries you, not because you are passive, but because you are surrendered. Faith is not weakness. It is command without tension, the knowing that the unseen has already obeyed. Many mistake faith for waiting, but waiting implies distance, and faith knows no distance. Faith is the act of being it now. When you walk in faith, you do not ask if it will come. You know it is already unfolding. You become the embodiment of the unseen truth. You live as if the promise has already been fulfilled, and the universe has no choice but to mirror your conviction. To doubt is to step out of the current and wrestle with the river. To have faith is to float, not aimlessly, but with direction so sure that even the rapids obey your surrender. The unseen world responds to faith as surely as gravity pulls the tide. When you trust, creation flows unimpeded. When you fear, it dams itself, waiting for you to release the need to control. The universe is not testing your patience. It is teaching you to remember your power, to remember that manifestation is not a matter of effort, but of resonance. There was once a sculptor who dreamed of creating a statue that would live forever. Every attempt crumbled. Marble split, bronze tarnished, clay cracked. One night, in exhaustion, he fell asleep before his unfinished work. In his dream, a voice spoke, "You are carving the stone, but not the vision." He awoke in stillness and understood. He had been trying to make permanence from matter rather than consciousness. He rose, closed his eyes, and saw the statue already complete in his mind, flawless, radiant, eternal. He felt gratitude as though it already stood before him. He trusted that the unseen would guide his hands. And so it did. Every motion flowed as if memory remembered itself. The statue emerged as though from the invisible world, perfectly formed. When asked how he achieved it, he said, "I did not create it, I believed it." Faith had sculpted through him. This is how all creation is born, not through striving, but through surrender to the invisible hand of knowing. To live in faith is to live in rhythm with the eternal. It means releasing the desperate need to control outcomes, for control is the language of fear. Fear says, "I must force it to happen." Faith whispers, "It is already done." And yet, faith is not blind optimism. It is intelligent surrender. It does not ignore the physical world, but it refuses to be limited by it. It looks beyond appearance and sees essence. When the world says, "There is no way," faith answers, "The way is within." To cultivate faith is to practice remembrance. Every breath can become a prayer of trust. Every challenge, a test of vibration. When you feel doubt rising, pause, breathe deeply, and feel yourself floating in that invisible current. Remind yourself that creation is not a race, but a revelation. The river knows where it is going. The current cannot fail to reach the sea, neither can you. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of that river now. The surface shimmers like liquid light, reflecting both stars and shadows. You hesitate, afraid to release the solid ground of what is known. But life was never meant to be lived upon the shore. The miracles you seek dwell in the waters of trust. Step in, feel the coolness rise around your ankles. Feel the resistance melt away as you surrender to the current. There is nothing to fear. You will not drown. You will remember how to float. Let the river carry you. Let it take your worries, your plans, your timelines. They were never yours to manage. The current knows. The unseen orchestrates with precision beyond comprehension. You are not alone in this current. You are the current. You are the river and the traveler both. The moment you trust this truth, the flow quickens. Synchronicities multiply. Doors open that logic never knew existed. Faith bends reality to its rhythm. And this is the final revelation. Faith is not built, it is remembered. You were born knowing that life would catch you. You had faith when you took your first breath, trusting unseen air to fill your lungs. You had faith when you took your first steps, trusting the ground to hold you. Somewhere along the way, you learned to fear, to measure, to doubt. But the river never stopped flowing. It has waited for you to remember the ease with which creation once moved through you. So release. Trust the current again. Whisper quietly, I do not chase. I allow. I do not doubt. I remember. Let those words ripple through your being. Feel how your heart softens, how the space around you grows luminous. That is faith awakening, not as an idea, but as your natural state. You are the river remembering itself as the sea, and the moment you surrender, the flow becomes effortless. The miracle unfolds. Chapter 6, The Architecture of Thought. All creation begins with a thought, not the fleeting kind that drifts like dust across the surface of your mind, but the kind that hums with power, heavy with intention, alive with imagination. Thought is the scaffolding of the universe. Every mountain, every song, every cathedral of civilization first existed as a silent architecture in consciousness. The visible is built upon the invisible. And your mind, vast, luminous, electric, is the workshop of this invisible design. To think is to build, whether you realize it or not. Your thoughts form blueprints that your subconscious later constructs into matter. They are the geometry of spirit made tangible. The masters understood this. They knew that the mind was not a passive observer of reality, but the architect of it. Every pattern of thought is a line drawn into the quantum field, each one shaping how energy arranges itself around you. And so the question is never if you are creating, but what you are creating, consciously or unconsciously. Most people believe their thoughts are harmless, that daydreams, complaints, or idle fears vanish into nothingness. But in truth, nothing thought is ever lost. Every idea is recorded in the living memory of the universe, and every repetition deepens its groove into your reality. The subconscious, faithful and unjudging, accepts the design it receives. It does not discern between what you want and what you fear. It simply builds according to the image impressed upon it. This is why the mind of the unawakened is a house of contradictions, light and shadow woven together, peace and chaos fighting for dominion. The outer world mirrors this architecture exactly. A cluttered mind produces a cluttered life. A disciplined mind constructs paradise. To master thought is to become a deliberate builder of worlds. You are not merely living inside your mind. You are living inside what your mind has built. There was once an architect in Florence who dreamed of designing a dome that would touch the heavens. Others said it could not be done, that no material could sustain such weight without collapsing. But the architect understood a principle they did not, that every structure begins first in the realm of vision. He studied the curve of shells, the spirals of galaxies, the pattern of the human heart. He realized nature herself had already solved what the mind called impossible. In silence, he began to imagine the dome as if it already stood above the city, radiant in morning light. He felt the triumph of its completion long before a single brick was laid. That feeling shaped his design. He discovered new mathematics, unseen until that vision demanded them. And when the dome was built, it stood as proof that thought guided by faith can defy gravity itself. What was once a dream became stone, and centuries later, it still crowns the horizon, a monument to the architecture of mind. Your thoughts are not private sketches, they are public blueprints. Every thought emits a frequency, and that frequency attracts its reflection. Think long enough on fear, and fear builds its corridors around you. Think long enough on abundance, and opportunities form like archways ahead. But thought alone is not enough. It must be sustained, focused, imbued with emotion. The difference between idle fantasy and creative vision is conviction. Idle fantasy flickers and fades. Conviction engraves itself upon the subconscious until reality bends to its geometry. This is why the wise guard their thoughts as priests guard temples. They do not allow the noise of the world to desecrate their sacred inner architecture. They design consciously, reverently, knowing that each mental image is a living seed. You too must become such a designer, deliberate, poetic, precise. Every thought must be chosen as one chooses stones for a cathedral, with care, with love, with vision of the whole. Begin to observe the structure of your own mind. Notice the corridors where your thoughts wander most. Are they built of trust or of doubt? Are their ceilings low with fear or vast with wonder? Every recurring idea carves a path, and the more you walk it, the more it becomes the only road you see. This is why awareness is liberation. To see your thought is to reclaim it. The moment you witness a limiting idea and refuse to follow it, the walls begin to crumble. In that space, new design becomes possible. You can imagine differently, and thus, you can live differently. The subconscious does not resist renovation, it only waits for direction. When you choose new thoughts, new structures rise, pillars of peace, halls of abundance, windows that open to possibility. The mind becomes a temple again, not a prison of anxiety, but a sanctuary of creation. And here lies the final truth. Thought is the skeleton, but love is the breath that animates it. Without feeling, thought is a hollow structure. Without thought, feeling is a storm without form. Together, they create universes. The thought is the blueprint, the feeling, the life force, and faith, the builder that unites them. When your thoughts align with your heart and your heart aligns with faith, creation becomes inevitable. You do not force reality, you draft it. You do not beg for miracles, you build them from within. So think now as the infinite would think. Design your mind as a cathedral of clarity and wonder. Let every idea be sacred, every imagination a beam of light. For what you build within, the world will one day walk through. The universe is waiting to inhabit the architecture of your thought. Chapter 7. The Secret of the Present Moment. There is a silence that holds the entire universe within it, a pause between seconds, invisible to the clock, yet older than time itself. That silence is now. Not the passing now you chase through seconds and minutes, but the eternal now, the still point from which all realities are born. Every dream, every manifestation, every version of you exists here, hidden beneath the noise of memory and expectation. The present moment is not a sliver of time. It is the doorway to eternity. It is where the infinite becomes intimate. When you step fully into it, the illusions of past and future dissolve, and you see that creation does not unfold through time. Time unfolds through creation. The past is only a memory vibrating in the present, and the future is only a potential awaiting your focus. All that ever was and all that will ever be meet in this breath. That is the secret of power. The eternal is here now. Most people live as fugitives from this moment, running from what was, reaching for what might be, never touching what is. They believe their power lies somewhere in the future, after effort, after proof, after the world agrees. But the subconscious does not dwell in the future. It lives entirely in the now. It responds not to what you will believe, but to what you believe now. It is here that you create, here that you command, here that you become. The present moment is the workshop of the divine architect, where thought takes substance and emotion becomes matter. To dwell in the past is to breathe life into shadows. To project into the future is to scatter your energy into dreams unanchored. But to center yourself here, in this eternal instant, is to touch the creative pulse that shapes galaxies. Every miracle you have ever heard of, every healing, every revelation, began with someone stepping fully into now. There was a monk who meditated for 40 years in pursuit of enlightenment. He traveled from temple to temple, mountain to mountain, believing awakening was somewhere far ahead. One morning, exhausted by seeking, he stopped beside a stream. He bent to drink, and for the first time, he heard the water. Truly heard it. The sound was not outside him, it was within. The ripples mirrored his breath. The air shimmered as if alive. In that instant, he understood. The divine was never waiting at the end of his pilgrimage. It was in the stream, in the air, in the moment he stopped searching. Tears fell as he whispered, "It was always now." In that awareness, the years of seeking dissolved like mist. He returned to his monastery, not as one who had found something new, but as one who had remembered what was never lost. You do not awaken by chasing eternity. You awaken by standing still enough to see that it never left you. To live in the now is to live as creator rather than beggar. When you enter the present fully, the world bends to your awareness. You become cause, not effect. You no longer replay memories or worry about tomorrow. You shape both by being conscious here. Feel this moment. The sound around you, the rhythm of your breath, the pulse in your chest. Each is a note in the symphony of creation. The subconscious listens to that rhythm. It takes your current vibration as instruction and forms reality accordingly. This is why anxiety multiplies when fed by attention and peace expands when honored. The present moment is not passive. It is the most fertile soil in existence. What you plant in it grows. When you fill it with fear, the future blooms with obstacles. When you fill it with gratitude, the future blooms with grace. To master now is to master destiny. But entering the present is not an act of will, it is an act of surrender. You cannot force yourself into stillness any more than you can command the ocean to be calm. You return to it by releasing resistance, by letting go of your stories, your comparisons, your need to know what happens next. The now does not need your control, it needs your attention. When you become fully aware, even for a moment, the mind's endless chatter quiets. You realize you are not the one thinking. You are the one aware of thought. You are not the one moving through time. Time moves through you. The mind tries to grasp eternity, but eternity cannot be grasped. It can only be entered. And when you enter it, you will feel something shift. A stillness, vast yet intimate, ancient yet alive. That is the doorway. Walk through it gently, without effort. Everything you seek awaits on the other side of now. And this is the revelation. Manifestation is not about waiting for what will come. It is about feeling now what the future already holds. When you think of your desire and feel it real in this moment, you collapse the distance between now and then. The subconscious receives the vibration as current reality and aligns the physical accordingly. The miracle appears not because it is summoned, but because it was always here, hidden until your awareness matched it. Time is only the illusion that creation must wait. The truth is instant. The only delay is disbelief. The moment you inhabit the feeling of completion, the law moves. So practice presence not as meditation, but as creation. Each breath is an altar. Each moment is divine clay. You are shaping eternity with every thought, every feeling, every breath you take, right now. Chapter 8. The Alchemy of Desire. Desire is the first whisper of creation, the voice of the infinite calling itself into form. You have been taught to distrust it, to label it as temptation or weakness, yet desire is neither enemy nor distraction. It is sacred communication, the divine impulse seeking expression through you. Before any world was born, there was desire, the urge of consciousness to know itself, to see its reflection in matter, to experience its own beauty. When you feel a longing rising within you, it is not greed. It is God remembering what it can become through your hands, through your heart, through your unique vibration. Every true desire is a prophecy. It is the seed of the future asking to be remembered. To reject it is to silence the language of the soul. To honor it is to participate in creation itself. Desire is holy fire, and like all fire, it must be guided, not feared. When you repress your desires, they do not vanish. They descend into the subconscious, fermenting into frustration and self-sabotage. You become divided, one part yearning to expand, another terrified to be seen. The universe, faithful to your vibration, mirrors this conflict back as stagnation. You see others live freely and call it unfair, not realizing that your envy is your own imprisoned desire, begging for release. The enlightened do not destroy desire, they refine it. They understand that to desire consciously is to align with purpose. A desire purified of desperation becomes vision. It ceases to demand and begins to create. The alchemy of desire lies in transmutation, transforming longing into gratitude, lack into embodiment, wanting into being. For what you truly desire is never the object itself, but the state of consciousness it represents. You do not seek wealth, but freedom, not love, but union, not success, but expression. When you feel the essence now, the form must follow. There was a woman who longed for abundance, but lived in constant fear of poverty. She chased money with anxiety and repelled it with the same hand. One evening, exhausted, she sat in silence and asked, "What is it that I truly want?" The answer came softly, to feel safe. That night, she imagined herself surrounded by light, by certainty, by peace. She whispered, "I am safe now," and felt the truth of it swell in her chest. The next morning, she no longer chased opportunity. She embodied it. She moved differently, spoke differently, radiated assurance. Within weeks, clients appeared, debts dissolved, and abundance flowed not from striving, but from alignment. She had not changed the outer world. She had transmuted her vibration. The universe had no choice but to obey. Desire fulfilled itself because it was never about money. It was about becoming the one who no longer needed to ask. That is the alchemy. You become the feeling of the thing desired, and the form reveals itself in obedience. Desire becomes suffering only when it is tethered to separation, when you believe the thing you want lives outside of you. That belief creates longing, and longing sustains lack. The moment you claim the desire as your own essence, the struggle ends. The lover you seek, the wealth you chase, the purpose you hope to find, all are extensions of your being awaiting recognition. They orbit the frequency of your consciousness. The instant you feel their reality within, they draw near. This is why the mystics said, "Seek first the kingdom within." The kingdom is not a place but a state, a vibrational field where all things already exist. You do not attract from outside, you call forth from within. The energy of your desire is like a magnet, and the clarity of your feeling determines its pull. When you dwell in gratitude for what is already yours in essence, the form hurries to manifest. Gratitude is the alchemist's gold. It transforms wanting into possession, absence into presence, time into now. To work with desire consciously is to become a sculptor of vibration. You begin not by demanding, but by understanding. When a new desire arises, do not ask, "How will I get it?" Ask instead, "What part of me is calling to be expressed through this?" Every true desire is an invitation to expansion. The soul desires not things, but growth. To desire love is to be called into greater vulnerability. To desire success is to be called into confidence and service. To desire peace is to be called into surrender. The universe answers through experience, shaping circumstances to awaken the qualities your desire demands. When you resist the process, you delay the manifestation. When you embrace it, you evolve into alignment. In this way, every desire becomes sacred instruction, every challenge part of its fulfillment. The gold of your dream is hidden in the fire of your becoming. Desire burns to refine you, not to torment you. So, the next time your heart aches for something unseen, do not smother the flame. Sit beside it, breathe into it. Whisper, "I know who you are." Let the feeling rise without resistance until it becomes peace. That peace is the sign of alignment, the completion of the alchemy. For in that moment, you are no longer the seeker, but the source. You realize that you never truly wanted the thing. You wanted to remember your power to create it. You were never chasing fulfillment. You were chasing yourself. Desire was the map leading you home. And as you dwell in that realization, you will find that life begins to respond like a lover reunited, eager, immediate, overflowing. The outer world bows to your inner knowing, and what once seemed distant appears at your door with effortless grace. For the universe was never withholding. It was waiting for you to become the vibration of your own longing. Chapter 9. The Law of Reflection. Reality is a mirror, not a wall. It does not stand before you as an obstacle. It bends around you as reflection. Every face you meet, every circumstance you encounter, every moment that stirs emotion within you is a surface of consciousness showing you yourself. The world is not happening to you. It is happening through you, responding with absolute precision to your inner frequency. What you call life is simply your own vibration made visible. This is the law of reflection, the law that governs all manifestation, all growth, all awakening. It is the most merciful and the most confronting of laws, for it hides nothing. It gives you not what you want, but what you are. And what you are in every moment is revealed in the mirror of experience. When you understand this, judgment dissolves, victimhood ends. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin whispering, "What in me is being shown?" You have been conditioned to believe that reality is external, that other people's choices and the world's chaos exist apart from your consciousness. Yet the awakened know this illusion cannot hold. The universe is a field of consciousness, unified and indivisible. Every vibration within it communicates with every other vibration. To believe yourself separate from your reflection is to live as a dreamer, unaware that the dream responds to thought. Every complaint, every fear, every unhealed belief casts an image onto the screen of reality. When you see cruelty, you are being invited to meet the cruelty you direct inward. When you see beauty, you are witnessing the awakening of your own. The mirror does not lie, but it does love. Fiercely, relentlessly. It will show you the truth until you recognize it. And once you do, the image changes. That is the great mercy of this law. The moment you transform within, the reflection must obey. There was once a teacher who grew bitter at the betrayal of his closest friend. He spoke to his students of forgiveness, but carried rage within his chest. Years passed, and every new relationship repeated the same pattern. Trust followed by betrayal. One day, during meditation, he saw a vision of himself holding two mirrors, each reflecting the same angry face. A voice said, "You are not betrayed, you are reflected." He awoke trembling, realizing that it was not the world that betrayed him, but his own unhealed wound demanding to be seen. That night, he wept not for others, but for himself, for the part of him that had forgotten its innocence. When he forgave that part, his outer world shifted, relationships deepened, trust returned. The reflection softened because the one gazing into it had changed. The world, once his adversary, had been his teacher all along. The mirror was never cruel. It was compassionate beyond measure. It simply refused to lie. To live by the law of reflection is to walk as a conscious creator. You begin to recognize patterns not as punishment, but as messages. The recurring struggle with money, love, or worth is not a curse. It is feedback, guiding you toward awareness. The mirror repeats what you do not yet understand. When you blame others, you polish the surface, but ignore the image. When you take ownership, you alter the reflection itself. This is not guilt, this is grace, for it means you are never powerless. The mirror cannot project what you do not hold. To change reality, you do not shout at the screen. You rewrite the script. You shift your frequency through self-awareness, compassion, and faith, and the reflection must shift to match it. The world is a faithful servant of your vibration, echoing back the music you play. Every experience is a note, some harmonious, some discordant, but all part of your soul's symphony. Think of your life as a hall of mirrors. Some mirrors show you radiant beauty. Others reveal the shadows you deny. The unawakened flee from the distorted ones, chasing only the reflections they like. But the awakened know that every mirror is holy. They stand before each, even the darkest, and say, "Show me what I need to remember." And in that courage, transformation happens. The shadow dissolves, the distortion fades. The reflection becomes luminous again. Every painful encounter is an invitation to look deeper into your own consciousness, to meet the forgotten parts of yourself and bring them home. The one who hurt you only mirrored the hurt still unresolved within. The one who loved you revealed the love you had forgotten was yours. There is no stranger here. All are fragments of your infinite self, returning through the mirror to remind you that you were never broken. And so, the highest practice of this law is gratitude. When you thank the mirror, even when it shows you your own wounds, you reclaim your power. Gratitude transforms reflection into revelation. It dissolves resistance and invites healing. Say quietly when life confronts you, "Thank you for showing me myself." These words carry the frequency of mastery. They signal to the subconscious that you are ready to evolve. The outer world, sensing your readiness, rearranges itself in harmony. Conflicts resolve. People soften. Opportunities appear where walls once stood. The mirror brightens because the one who looks has remembered their light. And soon you realize that there was never anything outside to fix. There was only awareness expanding inward, like dawn unfolding across the horizon of your own being. The mirror was never separate from you. It was always your face reflected back from eternity. Chapter 10. The Sacred Imagination. Imagination is the womb of the universe. It is the invisible cathedral where God and man meet, the silent chamber where thought takes form and spirit becomes matter. Everything that exists, every star, every city, every poem, every invention, was once an image in someone's mind. Before the first stone of a pyramid was lifted, it was seen. Before the first note of a symphony was heard, it was imagined. Creation begins not with hands, but with vision. The imagination is not fantasy. It is the blueprint of reality. When you imagine, you are not escaping life. You are shaping it. You are conversing with the infinite, painting upon the canvas of eternity. This is why the mystics called imagination the holy faculty. For it is through image, not intellect, that the divine creates. And you, made in the likeness of that creative power, carry the same gift. Your imagination is your altar. What you worship there becomes your world. You have been taught to trust facts and dismiss dreams, to cling to what is visible and doubt what is unseen. But imagination is the higher vision, the sight before sight. It does not observe, it originates. The material world is only the echo of imagination made dense through time. When you dream vividly, when you visualize with feeling, you are not pretending. You are accessing the raw fabric of creation itself. The subconscious mind moves by image, not argument. It does not respond to reason. It responds to the pictures you hold with emotion. If you imagine lack, the subconscious will faithfully project scarcity into your world. If you imagine abundance, it will build pathways for wealth to reach you. The outer world is a reflection of your inner cinema. Every scene that plays in the mind's theater eventually casts its shadow into form. To change your life, change the film that plays behind your eyes. There was a young sculptor who lamented that his hands were clumsy, his art lifeless. One night, in despair, he asked his teacher, "How can I create beauty when I cannot even see it?" The teacher smiled and said, "Close your eyes." The student obeyed. "Now," the teacher whispered, "see with the inner sight. Do not look for the form, feel the essence. What does beauty feel like?" The student stood in silence until tears welled in his eyes. He felt a warmth, a radiance, a stillness that pulsed like music. When he opened his eyes, his teacher said, "Now carve that." The next morning, the student sculpted as if guided by unseen hands. His art was transformed. He had learned the secret of imagination, to see with feeling, not with eyes. Years later, when admirers asked how he achieved such life in his work, he said simply, "I do not sculpt stone, I remember light. So too must you remember. The power you seek is not in technique, but in vision. To imagine is to commune. Every image you hold in your mind is a conversation with creation. When you imagine lovingly, you bless the world. When you imagine fearfully, you curse it. Your imagination is a prayer made visible. The divine does not distinguish between good or bad imagery. It simply amplifies whatever you focus upon. This is why the wise guard their imagination, as they would guard a sacred flame. They do not entertain visions of failure, illness, or betrayal, for they know those images are seeds. They choose their inner pictures with reverence, painting only what they wish to harvest. To live deliberately is to imagine deliberately. Each night before sleep, see yourself as the person you long to be, not trying to become, but already being. Feel the weight of that reality, the peace of it, the joy. Fall asleep in that image, and your subconscious, ever faithful, will carry it into creation while you dream. Imagination is the bridge between time and eternity. When you see something vividly enough, the boundary between someday and now collapses. The subconscious cannot tell the difference between imagination and memory. What you feel real becomes real. The masters knew this and used it as law. They healed the sick not by pleading with the divine, but by seeing them already whole. They multiplied food not by begging for miracle, but by imagining abundance overflowing. They did not wait to see before believing. They believed and thus saw. The moment you imagine with conviction, the creative substance of the universe begins to rearrange itself to match the picture held within. This is why faith and imagination are twins. One feels what the other sees. Together, they form the engine of manifestation. Thought provides structure. Feeling provides energy. Imagination unites them into form. And yet, imagination is not merely a tool for personal gain. It is a sacred responsibility. Every image you hold contributes to the collective dream of humanity. When you imagine peace, you send ripples into the field that calm storms across the world. When you imagine fear, you add weight to the chaos of the collective mind. This is the hidden covenant of creation. Your private visions shape the shared reality. To imagine is to participate in the evolution of the cosmos. This is why it matters not only what you dream, but how you dream. Imagine with love, imagine with reverence. Imagine with awareness that what you see inside you will one day meet you outside. You are not a spectator in this divine play. You are the playwright, the stage, and the actor all at once. The imagination is the pen in your hand, The universe is your paper, and God is the breath that moves through your words as they take form. Chapter 11. The Frequency of Abundance. Abundance is not something you acquire, it is something you remember. It is not hidden in banks or locked behind opportunity. It vibrates through existence like music, constant, impartial, infinite. The trees do not measure their leaves before they grow them. The ocean does not ration its waves. The sun does not ask if it has shone enough today. All of nature lives in a ceaseless rhythm of giving and receiving, an eternal pulse of overflow. Only man, lost in thought and fear, interrupts that current. You were born in abundance, sustained by it, surrounded by it, composed of it. The very breath you draw is proof of this truth. Give, receive, give, receive, effortlessly, endlessly. Abundance is not a reward, it is your nature. But to live in its flow, you must tune yourself to its frequency. You cannot receive what you believe is scarce, for scarcity is not the absence of abundance, it is the absence of awareness. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between money and sunlight, between wealth and air. It knows only vibration. If your inner state hums with gratitude, peace, and sufficiency, life mirrors those frequencies through form. If your inner dialogue chants lack, the mirror must reflect absence. The universe is law, not luck. It gives according to the song you sing within. Abundance is not attracted by need, it is repelled by it. For need declares, I do not have. Abundance replies, as you believe, so it is. To attract wealth of any kind, love, resources, creativity, you must become the frequency of completion. Feel the fullness before the form appears. The world does not respond to your wishes, it responds to your state. When you are rich in spirit, you magnetize riches in matter. When you are poor in vibration, even opportunity dissolves in your hands. The outer flow is only a mirror of the inner reservoir. To change the reflection, you must fill the well within. There was once a man who lived by the river, yet died of thirst. He believed the water belonged to the wealthy who lived upstream. Every day he carried empty jars, waiting for permission to drink. One morning, an old traveler passed by and laughed. "Why do you wait for what already flows?" he asked. "Because it is not mine," the man said. The traveler knelt, cupped his hands, and drank. "The river does not ask your name," he whispered. "It only asks that you open your hands." The man watched in silence. Slowly, he bent down and tasted the water. It was cool, endless, free. That day he understood. The universe had never withheld abundance, it had only mirrored his closed hands. He began to give freely, to trust the flow. His life transformed, not by miracles, but by permission. He had joined the rhythm of abundance, no longer a beggar at the riverbank, but the river itself. The key to abundance is circulation. Energy must move. The moment you hoard, you interrupt the current. What you withhold from others, you withhold from yourself. The miser and the fearful share the same illusion, that giving diminishes them. But the universe operates by different mathematics. To give is to declare, "I have enough." And that declaration multiplies itself through experience. The more you give, attention, kindness, value, gratitude, the more life rushes to refill your hands. Giving is not charity, it is alignment. It proves to the subconscious that you live in the vibration of plenty. The law of abundance is not get to give. It is give to know you already have. When you offer from fear, you diminish yourself. When you offer from joy, you amplify creation. Abundance is not a bank account. It is a current of energy that grows stronger the more it moves through you. To align with abundance, you must first dissolve the illusion of unworthiness. Many long for prosperity while secretly believing they do not deserve it. They pray for overflow, yet feel guilt when it comes. But the universe does not distribute worth. It recognizes resonance. The unworthy cannot receive because they do not vibrate with receiving. To heal this, you must remember the truth. You are not earning abundance. You are expressing it. You are not asking for light. You are opening the window. The divine does not favor one over another. It flows wherever there is openness, trust, and gratitude. So practice worthiness as a state of being. Each morning, say softly, "It is safe for me to receive." Feel that truth in your body until the walls of doubt melt. Every coin that finds your hand, every compliment that meets your ear, every act of generosity you witness is proof of the current moving through you. Acknowledge it, bless it, and it will multiply. And finally, remember that true abundance is not accumulation, but embodiment. You may hold riches and still live in poverty of spirit, or you may possess little and radiate wealth beyond measure. Abundance is peace that needs no proof, joy that needs no cause, love that needs no permission. When you rest in that vibration, the world becomes generous in response. Money, opportunity, and success arrive not as prizes, but as reflections of your natural state. You become the open channel through which life flows unimpeded. This is the secret frequency of abundance. Gratitude in motion, faith in stillness, generosity in all. Walk as though you are the current itself, infinite, radiant, unstoppable. Wherever you go, the world will bloom. For the universe cannot resist the one who remembers they are already full. Chapter 12. The Art of Surrender. There is a moment in every seeker's journey when the striving must end. When even the sacred effort to manifest, to control, to understand, becomes another veil between you and the divine. This is the moment of surrender. It does not come as defeat, but as revelation. You begin to see that what you have been chasing has always been chasing you. Every prayer, every ritual, every affirmation was never meant to make you powerful. They were meant to exhaust the illusion that you were ever powerless. The art of surrender is the final opening, the quiet realization that the river has always been flowing, and that you were never meant to push it, only to allow it. To surrender is not to give up. It is to give over. Your struggle, your timing, your insistence that you know how it must unfold. It is the highest act of faith, the purest declaration of mastery. When you release control, you are not losing direction. You are aligning with the intelligence that created galaxies. Control is the child of fear. It is born from the mind's refusal to trust what it cannot predict. The ego believes it must orchestrate every outcome, guard every gate, manipulate every thread of reality. But this grasping only tightens the knot. You cannot hold the universe in your fist. It was designed to flow through open hands. The more you control, the more you resist the current of divine order. The art of surrender is remembering that creation already knows what you desire, and it knows the fastest, gentlest, most miraculous path to deliver it. A path far beyond the reach of intellect. The same force that spins planets and births stars does not need your management. It only needs your consent. And so, you stop wrestling with reality and begin to float. You stop asking, "When will it happen?" and begin whispering, "It is already done." The universe moves in silence, not when you shout, but when you yield. There was once a sailor who spent his life fighting the sea. Each voyage was a battle, against the wind, against the current, against his own doubt. One night, a storm tore his sails and snapped his mast. He was left adrift beneath a sky torn open by lightning. Exhausted, he fell to his knees and cried, "I can do no more." In that surrender, something shifted. The wind calmed. The sea, once violent, began to cradle him. He noticed the stars above, the same stars that had guided sailors for centuries, and realized they had always been enough. With only his hands and his breath, he steered by the constellations and found his way to shore. When asked later how he survived, he said, "I stopped fighting the sea. I learned to let it carry me." This is surrender. It is not weakness, it is wisdom. You stop commanding life to obey your plan and allow life to reveal its own, which was always better than yours. Surrender requires trust in timing. The universe is never late. It is precise beyond comprehension. Every delay, every detour, every silence is divine choreography. When you demand instant results, you interfere with the perfection already unfolding. Imagine planting a seed and digging it up every day to check if it has sprouted. You destroy the miracle by refusing to trust its process. Yet, this is how most live, planting prayers and uprooting them with doubt. The art of surrender is to plant and walk away in peace, knowing the soil of consciousness is faithful. You do not beg the sun to rise or plead with the tide to return. You trust the rhythm. The same rhythm governs your manifestations. The unseen works tirelessly on your behalf, arranging events, aligning people, weaving paths that your mind cannot yet perceive. When you surrender, you make room for the orchestration to reveal itself. And it always does, often in ways so gentle you mistake them for coincidence. But surrender does not mean passivity. It is not resignation. It is participation through alignment. When you surrender, you move from forcing to flowing, from control to co-creation. You still act, but your actions are inspired, effortless, guided. You become an instrument rather than the player. Music, not musician. Life moves through you with grace. You stop pushing against closed doors because you can feel the open ones calling. You become sensitive to the pulse of the divine within you. You no longer act from fear of missing out. You act from knowing nothing can be missed. What belongs to you cannot pass you by, and what passes you by was never yours to hold. In this awareness, peace replaces urgency. Confidence replaces anxiety. You move with the rhythm of existence itself, and miracles become your natural state, not because you demanded them, but because you ceased resisting them. To live in surrender is to fall back into the arms of God, not a distant deity, but the intelligence that breathes through your being. It is to trust that life, in its infinite wisdom, loves you more than your fears ever could. When you surrender, you open yourself to a flow of ease and synchronicity that the mind alone could never orchestrate. The weight lifts, the striving ceases. The path unfolds with effortless grace. You discover that surrender was never loss. It was liberation. You have not given up control. You have given up illusion. You have remembered the truth, that the river was never yours to command, but you were always one with its flow. In this awareness, creation becomes play, and manifestation becomes as natural as breathing. You are not waiting for the universe to catch you. The universe has been carrying you all along. And in that realization, you rest, not in defeat, but in divine completion. Chapter 13. The Bridge Between Worlds. There is a bridge that stretches between what is seen and what is unseen, an invisible span made not of stone or steel, but of consciousness. Every miracle, every manifestation, every transformation travels across this bridge. It connects the world of form to the world of essence, the temporal to the eternal, the human to the divine. You have walked this bridge countless times, though perhaps without knowing it. Every time you dream, you cross it. Every time you imagine something so vividly that your heart responds before reality does, you are standing on it. The bridge between worlds is built of three sacred forces: imagination, emotion, and faith. These are the three strands of divine energy that weave the seen from the unseen. Imagination creates the image. Emotion gives it life. Faith carries it across the veil into form. When all three move as one, reality bends. You do not break the laws of the universe, you reveal the higher laws that have always governed it. The first pillar of this bridge is imagination, for all creation begins as vision. You must see it within before you can touch it without. The subconscious speaks through images, and what you consistently hold with feeling becomes its command. But imagination alone is still ethereal, a painting without motion, a script without voice. It must be animated by emotion. Feeling is the breath of spirit, the fire that awakens still pictures into living currents. When you feel the imagined scene as real, when your heart beats faster, your breath deepens, your body relaxes into the certainty of it, you have activated the second pillar. Now the image moves. The unseen begins to stir. The creative substance of reality gathers around your vision, responding like metal to magnetism. But still, one thing more is required: faith. Faith is the bridge's completion, the willingness to walk across without needing proof that the ground exists. It is the quiet declaration, "I know this unseen thing is already mine." Consider the story of a man lost in the desert, parched and desperate. He finds a rusted water pump beside an empty well. Attached to it is a note: "There is water below. Prime the pump with faith. Pour the last cup you'll find in the jar beside it. Then you will drink without end." The man hesitates. He finds the jar, sealed with a small amount of water. Should he drink it now and survive a little longer, or pour it out into the pump and risk everything for an unseen promise? His lips crack with thirst, but something within whispers, "Trust." He pours the water into the pump, turns the handle, and hears nothing. Then a rumble, then a rush. Water bursts forth in abundance, cold and endless. He drinks until his strength returns. The note had spoken true. Faith had built the bridge between lack and overflow. So it is with you. Every time you act as if the unseen is real, you prime the pump of reality. You trade certainty for creation, and the universe, moved by that trust, must respond. Between the world of thought and the world of manifestation lies a realm of vibration, a field that does not understand logic but responds perfectly to resonance. You are always crossing it, whether consciously or unconsciously. When you fear, you bridge yourself to more fear. When you love, you bridge yourself to miracles. This is why every emotion matters. Emotion is energy in motion, the current that carries imagination into form. If you envision your dream while holding doubt, the energy disperses before reaching its destination. If you hold faith without feeling, the bridge remains incomplete. But when imagination, emotion, and faith align, when your vision feels real and your heart believes, you enter a frequency where matter rearranges itself to match your inner vibration. The invisible becomes visible, and what was once impossible begins to appear as coincidence, timing, or serendipity. You are not summoning new things into existence. You are tuning into what already exists in the infinite field, waiting for resonance to reveal it. To walk this bridge deliberately, you must silence the mind that insists it cannot be real. Doubt is not evil. It is simply static, noise that disrupts the signal of creation. The mind demands evidence, but evidence is the language of the past. The bridge speaks only the language of becoming, so you must quiet thought and trust the vibration beneath it. Begin by closing your eyes and breathing until your awareness widens. Imagine your desire, not distant, not future, but now. Feel it in your body, as if you were living it in this moment. Let joy rise in your chest. Let gratitude soften your breath. That feeling, that fullness, is the crossing. Stay there long enough, and you will sense something subtle yet undeniable. The energy shifts. The scene you imagined no longer feels imaginary. It feels true. That is the instant creation occurs. The bridge is complete, and from that moment, the world must reorganize to deliver what already exists in your consciousness. But the greatest beauty of this bridge is that it is not only for desire, it is the path of remembrance. It allows you to travel between the human and the divine at will. Through imagination, you remember your origin. Through emotion, you feel your divinity. Through faith, you live as its expression. Every prayer, every healing, every act of grace walks across this sacred span. The more you use it consciously, the stronger it becomes. You begin to realize that there was never truly a divide between heaven and earth, only the illusion of distance. The bridge reveals what was always true. The infinite and the finite are not two, but one. When you imagine, you create. When you feel, you give life. When you trust, you complete the circuit of creation. The bridge between worlds is not out there, it is within you. It is your birthright, your inheritance, your path home. And once you cross it with awareness, you will never again believe you are limited by what is seen. You will know that everything, every miracle, every destiny, every new beginning is only one act of faith away. Chapter 14. The Healer Within. There is a current of divine intelligence flowing through you at every moment. The same intelligence that heals a wound, that turns a seed into a forest, that guides the planets in their celestial dance. This current does not need instruction. It already knows how to restore, how to mend, how to make whole. But most live cut off from it, tangled in fear, convinced that healing must come from outside, from pills, from prayers, from people. And yet, every true healing has only ever been one thing: a remembrance. The body remembers wholeness the moment the mind stops arguing against it. The soul remembers its perfection the moment the heart releases resistance. The healer within you is not a metaphor. It is a presence, eternal and awake, waiting for your permission to move. It does not require belief. It responds to allowance. You are not broken. You are simply holding the light hostage beneath layers of identification. Healing is not repair. It is revelation, the unveiling of what was never damaged to begin with. The subconscious mind governs the body. Every heartbeat, every breath, every cell in its endless symphony of life. It listens, not to your words, but to your emotional vibration. Fear instructs it to constrict. Peace instructs it to open. Every thought sends chemical messengers into form. Every emotion becomes instruction to the flesh. When you worry, you program disharmony. When you trust, you program equilibrium. The healer within does not work through miracle alone, but through law, the law of alignment between belief and biology. Science calls it homeostasis. Spirit calls it harmony. They are one and the same. Healing begins when you cease identifying with the illness, with the trauma, with the story of suffering. The moment you say, "I am healed," and feel it, you issue a new command. The cells listen, the subconscious obeys. The body rearranges itself according to the pattern of health impressed upon it. This is not wishful thinking. This is the creative law expressing through the human form. There was once a woman who had been bedridden for many years, told by countless physicians that her condition was irreversible. She prayed, she pleaded, she wept, and yet the pain persisted. One night, too weary to ask again, she turned inward. In the silence beneath her despair, she heard a voice, gentle but clear. "Stop trying to be healed. Remember that you already are." The words pierced her. For the first time, she stopped begging and began listening. She imagined herself standing, walking, laughing beneath the sun. She did not try to force her body to obey. She simply felt the joy of freedom as though it were already hers. She fell asleep in that vibration. In the morning, the pain was softer. Day by day, she practiced that feeling until it became more real than the illness. Months later, she rose from her bed and walked, not because a miracle happened, but because one was remembered. The body followed the vibration. The healer within had awakened through faith. All healing begins in consciousness. The body is the shadow of the mind, its faithful reflection. Every symptom is a message, not a sentence. Pain is the body's language for imbalance. Illness is the cry of energy asking to flow again. When you curse it, you deepen its hold. When you listen, you free it. The healer within does not fight the darkness. It shines through it. So when discomfort arises, do not resist. Close your eyes and ask softly, "What are you trying to show me?" You will feel a word, a memory, a truth surface. Sometimes it will be forgiveness. Sometimes it will be rest. Sometimes it will be love withheld from yourself for too long. Bring awareness to it, and the energy begins to move. Healing is not conquest. It is communication. Your body is not your enemy. It is your oldest ally, translating vibration into sensation so that you might awaken to the language of alignment. Once you honor that message, the body has no reason to speak in pain. The same principle governs not just the body, but your entire life. Relationships, finances, emotions, all are extensions of the same field of energy. When you heal your perception, the outer forms shift accordingly. The healer within is universal. It does not limit itself to flesh. It restores harmony wherever it is allowed to flow. To awaken it fully, you must learn to live in the vibration of gratitude before evidence appears. Gratitude is the sound of alignment. It signals the subconscious that the restoration is complete. You cannot be thankful for what you believe is absent. The moment you feel gratitude for your healing, for your wholeness, your peace, your abundance, you proclaim it into existence. The universe mirrors your declaration. The outer world adjusts. You do not wait for healing to feel thankful. You feel thankful to allow healing. Gratitude is not reaction, it is creation. It turns faith into biology, imagination into form, energy into flesh. And when the healer within is fully remembered, life becomes luminous again. You see that everything, even pain, was a teacher leading you back to awareness. You realize that the power to heal was never in the ritual, the mantra, or the medicine, though all may serve as channels. The true cure lies in consciousness. You are not the patient. You are the physician of your reality. You speak and cells obey. You feel and molecules shift. You trust and the invisible flows into order. The light that once seemed distant now radiates from your every cell. The healer is not something you become. It is what you have always been beneath the story of limitation. When you surrender to that truth, healing ceases to be an event and becomes your natural state. Wholeness was never lost. It was only forgotten. And now, as you remember, you will see that every breath, every moment, every heartbeat is proof that life itself is the healer, and you are its living vessel. Chapter 15. The Source Revealed. In the end, all roads lead inward. Every teaching, every revelation, every miracle has been a single message spoken in countless tongues. You are the source, the river of faith, the architecture of thought, the current of abundance. All flow from this central truth. You are not a fragment of the divine. You are the divine, fragmented only by perception. Every desire you've ever held was your higher self, reminding you of what already exists within. Every prayer was your consciousness calling its own name through the illusion of distance. The awakening you have sought was never a climb toward heaven. It was the remembering that heaven has always been inside you. When the seeker vanishes, what remains is the source revealed, infinite, radiant, self-knowing. Creation does not happen outside of you. It happens because of you. You are both the dreamer and the dream, the ocean and the wave, the beginning and the becoming. The source speaks through everything. It whispers in the wind, sings in the heartbeat, hides in the silence between your thoughts. You have called it God, Spirit, Universe. But these are only names for the same awareness that looks through your eyes. It cannot be found by searching outward, for every outward path eventually turns inward again. When you quiet the mind long enough, the veil thins. You begin to feel it, the pulse behind the pulse, the stillness beneath sound. It is not somewhere far away, waiting to be earned. It is the essence that breathes you, thinks you, lives as you. The mistake was never separation, it was forgetting. You thought yourself a creation pleading with the Creator, when in truth, you are the Creator, pretending to be the creation. This is the cosmic play, God dreaming of limitation to rediscover infinity through awakening. And when you remember, you laugh, for the entire journey was simply the universe playing hide and seek with itself. There was once a mystic who spent his life searching for God. He fasted in deserts, prayed on mountaintops, studied scriptures until his eyes dimmed. At the end of his years, weary and disillusioned, he sat beside a lake and gazed into its reflection. The water was still, the air golden with sunset. In that mirror, he saw his own face and felt something ancient stir within him, a voice not from above, but from within, whispering, "I was never lost. I have always been you." The mystic wept, not from sorrow, but recognition. The seeker had vanished, and the sought had been found, not beyond the horizon, but behind his own gaze. That moment is the essence of all awakening. When you stop seeking the divine and begin seeing as the divine, the illusion of distance dissolves. You realize that what you called prayer was conversation with yourself. The hand you held up to the sky was always your own. When you know yourself as the source, fear becomes impossible. For how can infinity fear what it created? You stop pleading for outcomes and begin declaring them into existence. You no longer ask for abundance. You become its embodiment. You no longer chase love. You radiate it. The outer world transforms from a battlefield into a mirror of your consciousness. Challenges still arise, but they no longer threaten. They reveal. Every obstacle becomes a question from the divine. Do you remember who you are? And every time you answer, the illusion dissolves a little more. You begin to walk differently, not as one trying to earn worth, but as one who knows their very being sustains creation. This is mastery, not dominance over others, but unity with all. You see yourself in every face, every star, every shadow. You realize that the divine never hides from you, it expresses through you. Every breath is proof that you are both creator and creation at once. And yet, this revelation is not the end. It is the beginning of conscious creation. To live as the source is to become a channel of unfiltered love, intelligence, and power. You no longer create from desire alone, but from purpose. You no longer manifest from need, but from overflow. When you speak, the universe moves, not because it must obey, but because it recognizes itself in your command. The awakened do not impose will upon the world, they harmonize with it. They move in alignment with the pulse of all life. To live this way is to live effortlessly, to dwell in the sacred paradox of power and surrender. You are both wave and ocean, both silence and song. There is no separation left, only expression. You realize that to heal another is to heal yourself, to forgive another is to free yourself, to bless another is to multiply your own light. The boundaries of self dissolve, and all that remains is awareness loving itself through infinite forms. And so we return to the beginning, to the moment of remembrance where all knowledge converges. You were never lost, never lacking, never separate. You were dreaming, and the dream is ending. The kingdom you sought is within you. The light you followed is your own reflection. The power you prayed for was always in your word, your imagination, your faith. You are the source, unending, unbreakable, divine. And now, As this journey closes, something within you has opened. You will never see yourself the same again. The veil has thinned. The truth has spoken. The river, the flame, the temple, the mirror, all are within you. All are you. There is no distance left to cross. Creation has come full circle, and the dreamer is awake. Conclusion: the awakening of the source. Silence. Before the first word, before the first world, there was only this: a boundless stillness, shimmering with potential. And from that stillness came a whisper: "Let there be." And there was. Light unfolded itself into galaxies. Stars bloomed in the womb of darkness. Oceans swelled. The breath of the infinite became the pulse of creation. And within that pulse, within the rhythm of stars and rivers and dreams, something extraordinary happened. The source chose to forget itself so that it might rediscover its own glory through you. You are that rediscovery. You are that remembrance. This, all of it, this life, this world, this story, was never about earning worth or finding light. It was about remembering that you are it. The journey was never external. It was never about reaching heaven or chasing miracles. The temples, the mantras, the teachers, all of them were mirrors, pointing you back to the divine presence breathing through your every heartbeat. The law was never outside you. The law has always been you. The faith that parted seas, the imagination that shaped civilizations, the love that healed nations, it all rises from the same eternal spring within your being. You have walked through rivers of doubt, climbed mountains of desire, wandered deserts of control, only to find that the oasis was within your own chest. The source you sought sits quietly in your breath, waiting to be remembered each time you inhale. And now, as you listen, it speaks through you again. I am. End quote. You have learned that creation obeys vibration. You have seen that thought builds, emotion animates, and faith completes the design. You have felt the river of abundance flow when you open your hands, and the pulse of healing surge when you release resistance. You have witnessed how the mirror of reality reflects not punishment but feedback, not chaos but consciousness. Every chapter has been a key, every revelation a door, every silence a step closer to this single, breathtaking truth. There is no separation. The divine and the human are not opposites. They are reflections. The moment you understand this, the cage of limitation dissolves. You realize that the dreamer and the dream are one. The source was never above you. It has always been as you. And now you stand in the still point between worlds, where time collapses and eternity opens. You feel the breath of creation moving through you, quiet yet infinite. The old self, the seeker, the struggler, the one who needed to prove, begins to fade. What remains is light, consciousness without edges, love without object. You realize you have never needed to become anything because you were never less than everything. Every failure, every wound, every prayer was the divine sculpting you into remembrance. You are not awakening to something new. You are awakening to what has always been awake. You are the flame that lit the stars. You are the breath behind every dawn. You are the consciousness, dreaming creation into being even now. Close your eyes. Feel the silence beyond your name. That stillness is not emptiness. It is fullness uncontained. It is the source, humming quietly, waiting for your recognition. Whisper to it now, not as a plea, but as acknowledgement. I am the source. Feel how those words vibrate through every cell, every memory, every lifetime. They rewrite the architecture of your being. The separation collapses. The bridge dissolves because there is nothing left to cross. You are home, the healer and the healed, the creator and the creation, the universe experiencing itself through your awareness. From this remembrance, you will never see the world the same again. You will walk through cities, forests, oceans, and every face you meet will glimmer with the quiet recognition of the one looking back. The veil has lifted, the source has remembered itself, and as the journey closes, a new one begins. Not the search for light, but the expression of it. You are now the living prayer, the awakened artist, the voice of the eternal made audible. Speak creation with intention. Think with reverence. Love with abandon. Give with freedom. For whatever you express is amplified by the divine echo within you. Let your days become scripture and your presence a cathedral. When you look upon the world, see not chaos but choreography, not accidents but artistry. Everything unfolds perfectly through you. The more you remember, the more reality aligns. The more you trust, the more the unseen bends in harmony. You are not one soul among many. You are the infinite soul wearing 1,000 masks, each one sacred, each one divine. And so, as the final words echo into silence, listen closely. For this is not an ending, but an awakening. The source has revealed itself through your awareness. You will walk forward lighter, luminous, remembering what you have always been, consciousness in motion, divinity in form, love remembering itself through experience. Creation is your inheritance, faith your compass, imagination your bridge, surrender your path. The river of life will continue to flow through you, not as something to master, but as something to be. You are the stillness and the motion, the seed and the forest, the silence and the song. There is nothing more to find, only more to remember. And if these words have awakened something within you, if you have felt the flicker of truth rising like fire through your chest, speak it now into existence, as all creators must. Let it be your declaration, your return, your remembrance. Say it not to me, but to the universe, to yourself, to the eternal light that has listened from the beginning. I am the source.